Morris did, pitching for the Indians as he did there in the mid '90s when it just wasn't, when it was clearly done for him. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I see him.
Okay,
you can't see me, but I'm nodding. Yeah, that was.
It's a shame. He's honestly one of the greatest ever. So, why exactly are you so high on Carlos Gomez? You took him 106 spots out of his pre-draft ranking in the ESPN head-to-head league.
Well, here's the dirty secret. That was my first ever head-to-head draft. So, I've always been a standard roto guy, but that was my first ever head-to-head draft. So, I just love Carlos Gomez anyhow. But when you look at it in a standard roto format, he was the ninth most valuable player last year in leagues, and that's Mike Trout light, to be honest with you. That's Mike Trout light performance. And you're going to pay, if you're in an auction, you're going to pay $44 to get Mike Trout. You're going to pay, Gomez went for 30, I want to say 32, 33 in the labor drafts. So that's what you're going to pay there. And there's more risk with Gomez, but I mean, there's the power's there, the speed's there. He's a fun player to watch. I'm a big fan of him. I've taken him in the first round into mock drafts this winter, and a lot of people are like, "What are you doing?" I'm trying to push that narrative. I want him up there because he's not going to be a bargain, and I think he's going to be in for another big year. If you look at everything else around him, he's going to have Braun, he's going to have Chris Davis. I like Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee's going to surprise a lot of people this year.
Wow, that's bold. That's a bold statement right there.
My bold statement: Milwaukee's going to win. Milwaukee will be. They're projected. They're over under right now in Vegas to 78.5. If I had the disposable income, I would be throwing it all in the over.
That's the same way with me and the Indians over 80.5. Now. You also wrote the top 50 fantasy prospects for 2014 for ESPN Insider. I enjoyed when you said post-traumatic Red Sox disorder when you were talking about the Yankees signing Masahiro Tanaka, who you have ranked number 1. Did you factor in his Japanese workload and like the effect that could have on his arm?
A tiny bit. I mean, the rankings were a collaborative staff effort, but yeah, there's a little bit of concern. I'm actually more concerned about how he gets out of the gate. I mean, we go back. Let's understand something. He's not Yu Darvish, and people are going to compare him to Yu Darvish because he got a ton of money from the Yankees. But he's not Yu Darvish. Yu Darvish is going to be the best pitcher we get from Japan for another 10 years. That's how awesome he is. I mean, Tanaka, just to do comps, he's closer to Hisashi Iwakuma and Hiroki Kuroda than he is Darvish, but I really like those guys too. I just think when you look at the roles, because that list is for which rookie is going to have the best impact in 2014, Tanaka's got the clearest role. He's the number 3 starter in that rotation. He's going to get you a lot of strikeouts, so it works well.
That's true. He's going to get those counting stats.
Exactly, and he's going to get some wins because the Yankees, I don't consider them a favorite for that division. I think they're an 85 to 87 win team, but he's going to get those wins. He's going to get those strikeouts. He just has to hope he keeps the ball in the air. That infield defense for the Yankees is terrible.
Oh, yeah. Now, I was also reading Jonah Carey's 2014 Fantasy Primer on Grantland, and he mentioned about Matthew Berry's stance on never paying for saves in an auction draft and how he disagrees with it. Do you agree with Berry or Carey?
Both are good friends of mine, so I don't think either of them are listening now, so I'm going to say Carey. I used to do. I'll tell you this. I have punted saves in a league, and I've won the league. But it took everything. I won that league by a single run on the final day. So I don't ever want to do it to myself again. But no, when I go into the expert auction, when I go into Tout Wars, I will buy, like last year, I bought Glenn Perkins and Grant Balfour as my 2 closers. I paid $26 combined for the 2 of them, and I did very well. I was able to flip Balfour later on to get some more help. So I don't mind paying, but I'm not going to go. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to go out there and spend the $20 to get Koji Ohara, the $20 to get Greg Holland or Craig Kimbrell. I'm not buying Tier 1 closers. I'm buying Tier 2 closers, and maybe a Tier 3 guy. But that's where I am. I don't like I don't like having to trade for those guys within the season because, when you fall behind, it gets tougher and tougher to catch up in that category. Yes, saves come from everywhere, but, Danny Farquhars just don't show up every year and close 16 out of 18 games in the second half. Danny Farquhar won a lot of people leagues last year when he took over that job from Tom Wilhelmsen.
Yeah, which tier do you have John Axford in?
Axford to me is a 2. I think he's a lower tier 2. I know Paul Sporer and I took him in labor in the 14th or 15th round is when we got him because we were at the end of the wheel there in the 14th pick. So there's a lot of closers went before us. But yeah, I think Axford's definitely right there at 2, especially when you look at the way that the infield defense could shake out. I like him. I think he's a 30-save guy for Cleveland.
That's good to hear because after Chris Perez the last few years, anyone better would be nice.
I do not blame you. I do not blame you.
All right, so that's all we have for fantasy baseball questions right now. We're both college students, so we're kind of curious about your own college experience, where you went, what you studied, and how you think it kind of prepared you for what you're doing right now.
Sure. Yeah, just like any other baseball writer, I went to I went to college for an elementary education degree. Seriously, I have an undergraduate degree in elementary education, a master's degree in educational technology, both from the University of Central Florida.
Wow!
And that's where I went to school. And I like I said, I spent 18 years in the education industry, teaching, doing technology, helping school districts, and then when I got up in the business world, they had me traveling so much, and I just finally pulled the plug on it a couple of months ago. Said I'm done, I can't do this anymore, and I decided to flip over to baseball. How it helped me, obviously with all the writing that I had to do and all the speaking that I had to do as a teacher, and using and being comfortable with technology, all of those things come into daily play with what I do, whether I'm writing stories, whether I'm doing interviews, sometimes I'll interview some of the baseball players, so when I'm over there at Tampa Bay covering games and doing those things. So all of those skills work over there, but it's it's a crazy industry. The guy that runs statistics for MLB.com, he's got a degree in foreign languages. Your degrees, it's what you do with them. It's not what's on the paper. It's what you do with them is what really counts in the end.
That's good advice.
So, which is more stressful, planning a lesson plan or planning a fantasy draft?
God, lesson plans are the worst. It's like I hated calling in sick when I was a teacher because I'd have to get the lesson plans ready for somebody else, and it was always, I was like, forget it. I'm just going to go into work sick. It's much easier. With a draft, I could just look at it and just tell them, well, I'm going to be in New York for Tout Wars. My home leagues are drafting, so I have somebody drafting for me, and it's real easy. I was like, look, I've got confidence in that guy, because I play in other leagues with him, and he's really good. I can just tell him, Ken, these are the guys that I like. These are the guys that I do not like. So bucket A is where you focus. Bucket B you ignore. And I trust Ken, but I never trusted a substitute that much.
What are some of your hobbies when you're not covering fantasy baseball for a myriad of entities?
I like to, believe it or not, I like to personal travel. I don't like the business travel end of things anymore, but I do like to get out on trips and get out and enjoy the outdoors. Florida, this is the time of year to go out and do that, and in about 3 weeks from now, it'll be a terrible time to go out and do that. But I like doing that and just maximizing the time with my kids. That's the main reason why I got off the road, so I can do more with them.
Okay.
All right, so one last thing. If anybody listening wants to follow you on Twitter or read your stuff or whatever, where can they find you at?
Easy things on Twitter. It's same on either way. Just at Jason Collette. There's 2 L's, there's 2 T's, and a silent E at the end. And then if you just want to follow my writing, just go to jasoncollette.com. Anything I do for ESPN or Rotowire or Fangraphs, I just put it all there. That way it's just easier for people to find things.
Jason,
enough.
Yeah, I know. I follow you now. Jason, thank you very, very much for your time. We're really glad you could find some time in your busy schedule to call in and talk with us. And good luck this season. I can't wait to read more of your stuff on Fangraphs, Rotowire, and ESPN.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. I enjoyed the conversation.
I think we really appreciate it. Good luck this year in your fantasy leagues.
Yeah, all your fantasy leagues.
All 10 of them.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye. Yeah, so that was our first guest.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Think about that one, Alex. He's written for ESPN and all kinds of baseball websites, and he was on our show.
I know.
Wow.
But just a reminder that this interview and our Will Artino interview will both be part of we'll be playing the Artino interview later. They will both be part of the full show podcast, which you will be able to find on neuroticsportsfan.com.
Or StephenBarber.us.
And I'll be sure to tweet it out at NSF_Alex. And seriously, go follow Jason Collette at Jason Collette. 2 L's, 2 T's, and a silent D at the end, like he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really great. I mean...
So where do we go from here? We just
it's all downhill from here.
We just interviewed a writer for ESPN.
Yeah, it's all downhill from here, unfortunately.
I think our season just kind of peaked right there.
Yeah, really. But hey, our last show before spring break, I made it a big one. Did I not?
I'm impressed.
Not? Yeah, I'm impressed. You know what? I'm giving myself some applause for that one. I think I deserve it. Yeah.
Yeah, Alex is, honestly, I gotta say, Alex is great at finding people to be on our show.
I've been trying for people. I'm hoping to get some other guests in the future here. Unfortunately, we're off for a couple weeks. I'm just sending out feelers, sending out emails. The worst they say is they say no or they don't get back to me. And hey, if I find someone like Jason Collette who's really nice about this, coming on, giving us almost half an hour.
I know.
Really.
And some of the answers he gave us were just
great.
Yeah,
really
so detailed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he knows his stuff. That's why. I mean, I was reading his stuff. I was reading more of his stuff. I mean, I've read a few of his things, but it's like I was reading more of his stuff, and it was like his baseball knowledge is deep. It's deep. Hey, and who knows? Maybe one day I'll be big enough, and I'll have my own team in one of the labor leagues.
Maybe some kids from Denison will be calling you.
Yeah, really. Yeah, no kidding. Hey, I'm an alum. I'll call it. This will be the station that I care about more than the others. Oh, but I do have some Big Red Sports Talk breaking news. God, I love that Doobie Annex. But your Cavaliers, your Cleveland Cavaliers. Losers! Bunch of stinking losers. 107-97, they lost to the Knicks. Come on, you couldn't have won one for Z? Apparently not.
Of course not.
Of course not. It's never that easy, never that simple, truly. But, go figure, you know? Happens. Let's see here. Where were we going to go with this show? Because it's all downhill from here, really.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit of the Cavs.
Okay.
So they're bad. Kyrie Irving's good, not great. He is. He can't play defense, and he's not that great of a passer. He's an overrated passer. He's a way overrated defender. He's horrible defending. Yeah. And then you got the best of this team, which is a bunch of nobodies. Except for the fact that I was talking to a Denison basketball player today, and I was saying, you play some good defense. You shoot the 3-ball like Spencer Hawes. And this was at brunch this morning, and the entire table just went hysterical, because it's like, who compares someone to Spencer Hawes? No one, but
the neurotic sports fan does.
Of course I do. Of course I'm going to compare him to Spencer Hawes, because why wouldn't I? I would have probably done the same thing even if Spencer Hawes wasn't in Cleveland. That's the scarier part here. That's really the scary part. But I was watching that Z retirement ceremony. They played this cool video on the court, which it was really, really well done. I mean, it was like projected onto the court.
That's pretty cool.
It's awesome. Never seen anything like it. And it was just really cool. It was great. It was just great showing like what Z did for this town and what Z did when he was here. Really an amazing player. Then came the speeches. First was former Cavaliers GM Wayne Embry.
Now remember, there's a reason this guy got paid to pick players, not to give speeches.
Now Wayne Embry's also getting up there in age. Seems like a really nice guy. Really, really loved to talk about. He was talking great things about the 90s and stuff with Z and reminiscing. But then when it came, and it was a solid speech at the beginning. Then toward the end of the speech, he lost it. Couldn't remember his train of thought. So I don't know if he was trying to memorize his entire speech, which would have been unbelievable. You never know, though. But No, I mean, it was like he was forgetting things, and then at the end, he went to introduce Z. When he was supposed to introduce Dan Gilbert. Ooh, that I'm sorry, but